Hello everyone, and in this video I'm going to show you how you can control your Cinemachine virtual camera through code in Unity. In the previous video we showed you how you can set up your Cinemachine camera and how to make it follow the player. You can watch it in the card, or you can watch the full playlist of our tutorials also on the card. So starting off, we have this virtual camera here with these settings, and this is the main camera that's actually we show on the screen. We're going to use the camera control script that we already have. I'm going to remove all this. We're going to put some Cinemachine code here. Now, quick note here, in order for us to use the Cinemachine components, we need to use the Cinemachine namespace, and we're going to use the Cinemachine virtual camera component. Now, the problem is we cannot access or even modify the virtual camera setting direct. As you can see, these settings that we have, all this above, can access directly, like the follow or look at. Now, for our body, we are going to be using the framing transposer. Currently, we're using the framing transporter to control our camera and apply some modification. Now, these settings that cannot be controlled directly through script. Instead, all of these act as Cinemachine components. So we need to access the Cinemachine component, then we can modify these settings of this component. Let me show you an example. Now here, since we have the camera, if I want to go to the look at, here I can get and set the look at transformer, or follow, I can set and get the transformer. Now of course there are two of them, which is this M follow and the follow. They are basically the same thing, but I always prefer to use the property field, which instead of modifying the variable directly, so we're going to use these fields to modify them. Well, as you can see here, all that I did, when we're running the game, if I press the K key on my keyboard, we're gonna get the Cinemachine component, which is Cinemachine Framing Transposer, which is the current component that we're actually using, and go to the look ahead variable and change it to 1. If I press L, change it again to 0. So what's our script going to do? We're going to the Framing Transposer here, and we can see the look ahead time. It's currently on 0. Let me show you if it's work. Of course, we have the script attached here. We need to actually assign our virtual camera, which is this, and we test this out. I'm going to click our virtual camera to see what's actually going on. So our look ahead time is 0. If I press K, it will be 1, and it's changed. Just a minute. As you can see, it's 1 now. If I press L, it goes back to 0. As you can see, great, it's working perfectly fine. Now if I change this framing transport into like 3D person, and if we look here, if I try to access it, it gives me an error. Let me explain why. Whenever we're going to use our virtual camera, there is one component that we are going to be using. Currently, we are using the Cinemachine Framing Transposer component. So whenever we press K, we're going to our virtual camera, getting the Cinemachine component, which is Cinemachine Framing Transposer, access the variable, which is look ahead time, change it to 1. Since we are using that component, it actually worked. But when we change the component into the 3D follow target, it gives us an error. Why? Because we are not using that component. That means it will return null since the Cinemachine Framing Transposer does not exist. So you need to be careful what component you are using in your Cinemachine. For example, we are using the Framing Transposer component. We can try and get the component of a hard lock target because it will return null since we're not using. And of course, you can change in this way any settings available in the framing transport. For example, I have the screen X here, which is 0.5. What I simply did here that when we press K, the screen X is going to change to 1 and the L is going to change to 0.5, which return to default. Let's test this out. I'm going to press K and I'm going to press L again. It is very simple as that. Now if you want to control our lens setting, we simply go to our virtual camera and change the lens setting, and then we access the orthographic or near clip variables. As you can see, to access the orthographic size setting, I need to access the length, then change the orthographic size. Let me show you. Well, our orthographic size is actually 5. When I press K, it goes to 10. When I press L, it goes back to 5. As you can see, it's very simple as that. One, we need to actually get the Cinemachine component that we are currently using, and then access the variable that we want to change. Now here I'm going to show you how you can switch between your virtual cameras. As we said before, when we change the priority of your virtual camera, it will change the quickie and the first active camera. For example, our V camera in this case is actually for the player, and our test camera, we're going to assume that it is for cutscenes. So when a player interacts with something, we're going to activate a cutscene, sort of. Let me show you. Now here in hierarchy, we can see that we have only one virtual machine camera. I'm going to duplicate them. Now we have two cameras. I'm going to put this 0 and this priority to 1, and just going to name it like cinematic or cutscene camera. Now what I want here, if the player get into a cutscene, I want to activate the cutscene camera and then deactivate our main virtual camera. So this is for the player and this is for the cutscene. Now simply as we need to do, we need to change the priority of our camera, and remember, the highest priority virtual camera will be active. So our main camera will use the settings of the highest priority virtual camera. Let me show you. As I said, this is our highest priority virtual camera, which is, we assume this is the default. And this is for the cutscene, which has a low priority, which is 0 in this case. I'm going to go to our main camera. The script, I'm going to assign our cutscene camera, which is the test camera. I'm going to change some settings here just to know when it actually changed. So distance of the camera will be like 5. Change this and that. Change the dead zone. And so on. Alright, let's test this out. So our current active virtual camera is the VCam1. If I press K, now our cutscene camera is the active one. Our cutscene camera has the highest priority, which is now 1, and our V camera has 0. If I change this to 2, for example, it applies that setting. So if you have multiple virtual machine cameras, you can simply change between them by changing the priority. The highest priority virtual camera will be the one active. And of course, as we said, to actually modify a Cinemachine camera setting, whether any one you want, we need to get the Cinemachine component, the current one we are going to be using. For example, we have our body that have all those components. We need to try and get this Cinemachine component to change the setting. Of course, remember, if we are not using this component, the get Cinemachine component will return null. And if we go to our aim, we can actually use these components. These act as component as well. Same apply to the null. Alright, I hope you enjoyed this video and would like to see you next time.